Hello, I hope you're doing well. Today I want to propagate some of my perennial herbs. Our growing season is definitely coming to an end. We're starting to get down past freezing every night, and during the days the temperatures are hitting a max of like 40 and 50. So it's really starting to cool down for down south anyway. So I want to go ahead and show you how I propagate my herbs and then what I'm going to do to take care of them. So first up we have sage. This is just broadleaf sage. And to propagate, to have the best success, you're going to want to have at least 6 inches of the plant. And the growth, this is okay, but about the size of the pencil is the most recommended. And you'll want to make sure that you have, let me get my camera to focus here. Do you see these nodes? This is where the new growth will come out. So you'll want to make sure that you can have these above the dirt. To produce roots, you'll want to just peel back the bark here to expose the green wood. And if you choose to do so, you can dip this in a rooting hormone. I'll show you my process here soon though. And I'm just going to go through and collect as many as I feel like I can. I did this last year and my success rate was not great with the sage and the thyme. The cuttings I took were just really too spindly. So you really want to make sure that you've got your cuttings long enough and that they have enough thickness to them. This is a really good example. This will provide you with a really strong plant. You don't have to be stingy with it. The more that you're willing to provide the plant to pull energy from, the better off it's going to be. But last year I did my cuttings, I believe at about 4 inches, and I had okay success rate, but they didn't do so hot for a couple of reasons. I kept them, and I guess you could call it a chunky mix for the soil. So I really found that you need to keep it in a very fine mixture that's going to hold the moisture and not dry out quickly. Now that first one that I took was probably the least that I would go. All of the rest have been kind of bushy like this. And then you have your stalk to where you can peel back the green. I'll do that here in a minute. So I'll stop with the sage for the time being and we'll jump to a different type. Next we're going to do thyme. Now here I have my thyme bush. This is one of the better looking ones. A lot of the others are already starting to die off. I'm not sure if you can see this pile of sticks here. So my mistake last year was I took cuttings that looked honestly something like this. Probably a little bit thicker, but you really need to have more of the chunky wood base when you're cutting thyme. Please excuse the interruption. I just had to get some kitchen shears and see if that would work any better. So I'm just going to continue here. Here's a good example. You have a thicker stem here, and then you have your smaller growth up here. Just get a couple more examples. And you can also grab cuttings that look like that go closer to the main stem. And then I'll show you more about the propagation process. We'll just essentially do the same thing, just scrape all of the bark off of there, and then I'll show you how I trim the thyme plants to root them if we need to do that. Okay, next we'll move on to the lavender. Now to propagate your lavender plant, you'll want to do essentially the same thing. Cut it down to where it has a thicker, woodier base. And you can strip leaves off if you need to. And then up here, you can see that we still have active growth. You definitely want to have that active growth when you're propagating, because if the whole plant is dead and crispy like this, it's not going to go as well for you. Right, so I'm just going to continue propagating. Here's another nice one. Like I said, you don't have to do them this big at all. I had success, not a ton of success, but from really just doing a cutting about this size last year. But I only had really, we'll say like 25 to 30% of those survive. So I just want to try bigger ones, because for sure that they'll have better success. The bigger cutting you have, the more resources it has to pull that energy from to put out those roots, the more luck you're going to have. And I really like lavender, so I may grab a little bit more cuttings than the sage and thyme for this. I really need to focus on getting the green growth here, because I really did wait almost too long to do this. A lot of it is starting to die off and get crispy, as you can see. So it's December here in North Carolina, Zone 7B. So I don't know how much longer that I'll have for this. I might could push it another month. I'll come back out and, really see later on to see if it'll do the same thing. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the rosemary. That's just right here. I'm going to take a large cutting of this. Same. I find that spiders really like the rosemary, so be careful about that. Not usually huge ones, but there's always tiny spider webs in the rosemary. They love it. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how I'll pot these up and where I'll keep them. Alright, so I've got a bouquet of herbs, and now to pot them up, I have these clear cups. I like using clear cups for these so that I can see the roots growing on them. Makes it easier to monitor. And then also I have compost from our compost pile. It's very rich and fine, well broken down. Another note, these cups do have drainage holes in the bottom. I'd say that is a must. It is common to use the double cup method. So you just take your cup that has the holes in it and then set it into another cup that does not have holes into it, usually slightly bigger for best results so that it can hold water. But the same size is fine because it's really going to allow it to hold the moisture in without the soil drying out too quick. Another alternative is to set your cups down into a tray. But to begin, we'll just do one of each for the video. You'll go through, and this is rosemary. Just start scraping the bark off. Now you could cut each of these off individually, but I'm actually just going to come through and scrape some from really the whole bottom, each of these smaller branches, and then this bigger stem here as well. The wood is more white compared to these where it's more green, and you definitely want to have green wood. That's where the roots are going to come from. They're not going to come from the white wood as easily, I should say. Scraping this. I recommend using something to scrape and not using your nails. It'll probably get pretty rough after a little bit. You can see we've scraped a lot of the bark off of here. And then now I'm just going to dip it into rooting powder. I'm using Cormex rooting powder. This specific one is for woody plants, but you can use whatever you have on hand. I'm going to dip it into the rooting powder and get all those places that we stripped, and then tap off the excess. Place it into your little cup of compost. Stick that in there. Then backfill. And there you go. You have a beautiful little rosemary plant, and you can label it however if you'd like to. Okay, so I'm going to set this to the side and show you how we're going to do our next herb. Okay, next we have lavender. As you can see, only the tips here are really green. I'm just going to go ahead and strip off all of the older foliage that's crispy, because otherwise it's just going to fall off wherever you're throwing your plants. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Scrape the bark. Here's a good example. All of this wood is green. It's not very old, but it's mature enough that it's going to produce roots and a healthy plant. Now we're going to stick it in our rooting powder. Same process. Hit the green areas that you stripped. Tap off the excess. Grab your cup of compost or whatever you're using. You can use cocoa coir or a potting mix. Just make sure that it holds moisture really well. A little extra dirt. Okay, now you've got a good start on a lavender plant for next season. Next we have thyme. Put some of the leaves out of here. Okay. Now we're just going to do the same thing. If there's a lot of dead branches on the lower ends of yours, just go ahead and pull those off. This one was clean by chance, but it's really common for them to have a lot of dead on the under layers. Then we're going to do the same thing. Just go through and strip the bark off. You don't have to go overkill, but the more bark you strip off, it's all stripped up to here, that's the more surface area that it's going to have to produce roots. Rooting powder. And you don't have to use rooting powder, that's not a necessity. But it definitely does give your plant a jump, especially when you've got something that's on its last brink, such as our lavender over there that's mostly dead already. Another one. This is quite wiry. You should probably be prepared to put these in bigger cups if you want, or in my case, I'm probably going to tie this thyme together so it's not just sprawling all over the place, because it will get tangled up in everything that it goes next to. And last but not least, we have sage. Same deal. Strip the bark. Rooting powder. And there you go. And like I said before, you don't have to do your cuttings this large. I just want to go ahead and go right out the gate with a nice strong plant, and this is the way to do that. Now I'll go ahead and show you where I'm going to be keeping these plants. Our herbs are now inside the house. You want to make sure that they stay well watered. Do not let them dry out, because if that happens, they're going to immediately start dying off and the leaves are just going to start falling all over the place in your growing area. Another thing, if they start getting too tall, you cut it back. It'll come back from the new growth. I don't know if you can tell on here. Well, on tying each of these nodes, new growth will push out. Here, here. And it'll be the same thing for rosemary. Right here, here. So this is too tall. But what you'll just want to do, you can just take and chop it off there where that new growth point is. And the same applies to all of these. And the more you chop, like with most things, the bushier it will get. So this one's already been chopped up pretty good, and there's new growth coming everywhere. And I have them in my plant quarantine room just to make sure that they're not going to be covered in pests or anything. And then what I'll either do is move them to where I already have a grow light set up, or I'll bring a grow light here to give them. But they definitely do need sufficient light. You can probably get away with growing them in a south-facing window. I may actually go ahead and set these there once I'm done quarantining them, just because I know I'm already low on grow lights. If I don't have to use them, I don't want to. Well, I hope this video was helpful to you, and thank you for watching. Bye!